The American Broadcasting Company, or ABC, is the youngest of the big three networks, and between ABC, NBC, and CBS, ABC's origins are the least impressive. The network wasn't formed due to the ingenuity of its founder and their drive to provide entertainment to the nation, while at the same time earning massive profits off the ad revenue. No. ABC would begin its life as a subsidiary to a network created to provide entertainment while simultaneously earning massive profits. The only reason ABC even exists at all is because of the US government, specifically the newly formed Federal Communications Commission. But before I can talk about the FCC, I've just got to back up a little bit. Our story begins in 1927 with the foundation of NBC Blue as a sister network to NBC Red. The two networks shared facilities, engineers, other staff, advertisements, and sometimes even the same programming. This happened for large national events such as title fights, music concerts, and even the first transatlantic flight. Together, NBC Purple was originally owned by RCA, which later became defunct in 1986. In the late 1930s, the FCC would accuse NBC of anti-competitive actions and activities in conjunction with CBS. The accusations would stem from their oppressive business practices, which saw them holding control of over 85% of the US radio market. The following litigation would last through the rest of the 30s and well into the 1940s. In 1940, the FCC introduced new regulations on broadcasting, which restricted networks to a single affiliate station in the same market. Today we have a duopoly in place, which allows for a network to have a second affiliate station in the same market so long as both affiliates meet a few prerequisites. In 1940, NBC and CBS were faced with few options due to them owning the majority of stations in every major media market within the US. In response to the regulations, they would sue the FCC, challenging their authority to regulate and interfere with broadcasting networks. The FCC saw NBC and CBS as monopolies, and they would push for breaking them up. The suit would make it all the way to the Supreme Court, where in 1942, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the FCC, cementing their control over broadcasting regulations. During the two-year appeals process from 1940 to 1942, NBC began separating themselves from the Blue Network in preparation for the appeal failing. They would divide facilities, staff, and programming, allowing for the two networks to form separate identities. Following the Supreme Court's ruling, NBC would begin vigorously shopping the Blue Network around for potential buyers. They originally found over a dozen interested parties, but eventually narrowed it down to just 3, which spawned a bidding war between the groups. The bidding started at $6 million, but would be raised several times over a 6-month period. The final bid would come from American Broadcasting System Incorporated, which was owned by Edward J. Noble, and it consisted of an impressive $8 million bid worth well over $121 million today. Following the acquisition, Nobel had petitioned the FCC to approve the sale and drop the antitrust lawsuit facing the Blue Network. The FCC chairman had an issue with how the National Association of Broadcasters, which NBC had been a part of, had decided to sell their airtime, denying the sale of airtime to any topic or presenter deemed controversial by the network, but offering them a free platform so long as a proponent of the opposite opinion was allowed to present their argument. The FCC chairman James L. Fly denounced this practice as he believed it infringed on free speech. Nobel was forced to testify before the FCC, where he would announce his policy regarding the matter, stating NBC Blue would consider each request to broadcast based solely on its merits. The FCC chair would be satisfied and thus approved the sale of NBC Blue. Following the sale, the antitrust lawsuit from both Mutual and the FCC were subsequently dropped, allowing for the network to plan its future unimpeded. Nobel would use this period of peace to find wealthy backers, selling a 1/8 stake in the company to Time Incorporated, along with a smaller sale to executives within the company. He would use the money to renovate the newly named Blue Network. This would begin with purchasing new facilities and adding additional stations to expand the number of broadcasting markets Blue was able to reach. The biggest issue the Blue Network would face in their early years would be from the newly formed NBC, which was just renamed from NBC Red following their separation from Blue. NBC would go on to steal many of Blue's most popular programs, forcing them to come up with new shows to fill in the gap, which was met with varied success. Blue would focus on increasing its list of affiliate stations, going from 116 in 1942 to 155 in 1943, a 33% increase in just a year's time. They would continue this strategy in the following years, and in 1945, the network managed to provide coverage to 76% of radio homes in the United States. Although this was just the percent of homes that received the network, not the percent of homes that listened to it. This rapid growth was fueled by the ruling that gave them their independence, as the already established CBS and NBC were legally required to sell their excess stations due to the new regulations. Blue was able to scoop these stations off the market for relatively cheap, and although they were always the smaller stations within the market, they allowed the network to start to compete with its more popular sibling, NBC. And this takes us to the final arc in the Blue Network's storyline. In 1945, the FCC approved the transfer of the broadcast license from the Blue Network to the American Broadcasting Company. The newly formed American Broadcasting Company would still have one fight remaining in order to achieve their current form. This would come later that year when the company was forced to purchase the name ABC from 3 different parties due to them each having claims coming prior to the creation of the American Broadcasting Company in June of 1945. Their claims to the name were bought out, and ABC was finally in the hands of the American Broadcasting Company. ABC would continue to grow over the next 70 or so years, becoming one of the most influential broadcasting networks in American history, and it's all thanks to the US government giving the power to the FCC to start a war against the very broadcasting networks they'd sworn to protect. Anyway, I've been Semantics. If there's anything you think I left out or anything you'd like me to look at next, leave it in the comments below, and remember to hit that subscribe button. Other than that, have a great day today, everybody.